Welcome to Liberal BFR, where we put the left on check. Today's reality check. The Trump indictment and now arrest has sparked a fire within the MAGA base. As of today, Trump has raised $10 million since the indictment, with a large portion of that coming from first-time donors. April 4th, 2023 will be a day that is remembered in history books for generations to come. On this day, the justice system of America was drastically altered, becoming a tool used for political gain and leaving the country without its previous protections of individuals' rights. As President Trump put it, we have become less than what we once were and are no longer living in our own country. Recent events in our country have been alarming and concerning, with political opponents being prosecuted. President Trump alluded to this with his reference to third world tactics, implying a repressive regime. It is concerning that these tactics are being used in the current climate of our democracy. Leaders viewed as adversaries are being prosecuted, and ideas contrary to those in power are being censored, causing demoralization and feelings of helplessness among the American people. However, it is critical for us to remember that the will of the people is still the majority. We must stand united and persevere despite any adversity we may face from the radical left. Trump's campaign was surveilled. His home was searched, he faced accusations of racism, and he twice faced charges of impeachment in what have been politically motivated attempts. Furthermore, the former United States president has been charged by a district attorney who any sane person perceives as having an agenda. It is clear that President Trump sought to save the country from entrenched political corruption, with many claiming that certain factions within the establishment ignore public interests in order to solidify their own profits. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, during his 2021 Democrat primary race, campaigned on suing the Trump administration more than 100 times. A video unearthed by the Republican National Committee shows how corrupt he really is.
Let's talk about what's waiting for the new DA, the docket. We know there's a Trump investigation. I have investigated Trump and his children and held them accountable for their misconduct with the Trump Foundation. I also sued the Trump administration more than 100 times for DACA, the travel ban, separation of children from their families at the border. So I know that work. I know how to follow the facts and hold people in power accountable.
Meanwhile, since assuming office in early 2022, Bragg has built a career on declining to bring felony charges, decreasing felony convictions, downgrading felonies to misdemeanors, and failing to request bail for suspects accused of felonies. This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. Trump posted on Truth Social. You remember it just like I do. Russia, Russia, Russia. The Mueller hoax. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax 1. Impeachment hoax 2. The illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid. And now this. Bragg's office leaked the indictment to CNN. That's unlawful grand jury disclosure. There's more evidence that Bragg committed a felony than Trump did. But they're indicting Trump because they're terrified of him. They can't control him, and the Democrats destroys what it can't control. The star witnesses of the case are Stormy Daniels, a porn star who signed a letter stating there was never an affair, and a convicted perjurer, Michael Cohen, who is a felon. They clearly want to take out Trump by any and all means necessary. In a democratic system, you convince people to vote against him. In a tyrannical system, you use corrupt people with power to stop him from running. With President Trump's recent prosecution in New York, conservative businessmen should be aware of the potential risks they are facing. As such, relocating their businesses to more protective jurisdictions may be an advantageous decision. It is evident that political motivations can lead to prosecutions outside of the original statute of limitations. Thus, it is increasingly important for Republican business owners in New York to carefully consider their options. Alvin Bragg ran his campaign on how he will go after Trump. In what world is this not seen as a crime? The left is now actively looking to fabricate any and everything into a felony charge to silence their opponent. The Republican Party lacks accountability, which is why it's not held to the same standards as its counterparts. We need bold action and more. We, the people-type candidates who won't be afraid to take an active stance, just like the Democrats. It's time for a shift in party leadership. It's time for change. As Trump has said many times, it is not me they are after, I am just in their way. It's time the American people wake up and realize politicians from either side do not have our best interest in mind. We need the people candidates that are not politicians that will represent the people of America and not the politicians' special interest. President Trump has mentioned multiple times that his opponents are not targeting him, but rather the greater movement, the MAGA movement. He believes it is time Americans become more aware of how their representatives act with their own interests in mind, instead of what the people want and need. To bridge this gap, we, the people candidates free from political pressures and loyalties, are needed to fight for the wishes and views of everyday citizens. This involves taking on corrupt politicians who are working for their donors. Politicians in this country have failed to meet the needs of we, the people. And that's why we're seeing both sides of the political landscape take issue with President Trump. He stands as a representative voice for American citizens who feel like their voices aren't being heard. In the past, our nation was known for taking a stance against government overreach. However, now the left has become compliant to increasingly oppressive government policies. It's clear that the government is not motivated by our best interests. The disparity between the needs of the people and what we are getting is obvious. All that seems to matter is money and influence. President Trump came into office with significant resources, for which he has consistently used them in a manner beneficial to the people, not special interests. However, the task before us lies in collectively educating the public on understanding politics from an unbiased and independent perspective. This will help ensure that individuals are able to make informed decisions that reflect their own values and interests. It's long overdue for Republican DAs to bring felony charges against leading Democrats and leftists. If Trump wasn't running again, would any of this be happening? No, it would all be long forgotten. And that tells you everything you need to know about whether this case is a political hit job. After unsealing the charges, top lawyers are already saying there is nothing there. In fact, one top lawyer warning that this may just be a terrible day for the United States of America. New York taxpayers should be livid at the amount of money Bragg is spending for a BS political case. Alvin Bragg shut down New York City, brought in 38,000 NYPD officers, and will spend an estimated $200 million of New York City funds for a totally legal $130,000 NDA. On top of all that, the Ninth Circuit Court just awarded Trump $122,000 over the $500,000 already awarded from Stormy Daniels. We, the people, are tired of all talk. No action, Republicans. When will a Republican AG or DA hold a prominent Democrat accountable? That's all for today. To help support the channel, please comment, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss tomorrow's reality check. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check this one out next.